Hello everyone and welcome to Gurun's classes. Today in class 10 EVS, we are doing conserving our resource. Okay. Now, what do we mean by conserving our resource? Now, you know very well, the Earth is the only planet till now. Yes, though life, the science is trying to find out life in other planets also, but then also till now, the technology that we have, okay, we've been able to survive, in the Earth only. That also in certain places of Earth. Yes or no? Otherwise, life is surviving in other parts of the earth also, or but it's quite difficult. So especially the tropical region, life is more sustainable. Yes or no? If you talk about the poles, it's very difficult, or colder or cold countries, cold places. But then also humans, they are giving their best, they are trying their best to survive in all possible ways. Now, how do they survive is, say, suppose if you talk about cold places, then even in cold places also the animals that are found there, they are been hunted, they are, or agriculture is done, or if not agriculture, then also they are totally dependent upon fishing, isn't it? Or they are totally dependent upon hunting, okay, or dry fruits. Or so that means according to the time and space, or the nature, the environment, human beings, they are surviving. But as the population is growing, okay, now this resource is diminishing, this resource is finishing, degrading, the quality also is going down, the number is also going down. Yes or no? The weather also is, the climate also is deteriorating. Because of that, which the resource is depleting. Now, when the resource is depleting, means it's just like the ration of your house. For our house also, we bring a ration for the whole month. Okay. Now, if the ration is finishing, means the resource is depleting. So that means the house and the member of the house, the family, the people, what are they going to eat in the coming days? The ration is for 30 days, and if it gets finished on 20 days only, yes, or on the 28th day of the month, then for the rest of the 10 days. Okay, so conservation of the resource. So that means the ration should be used in such a way that the family could be, and the family could eat today also, and even for tomorrow also. So that is called budgeting, planning. So likewise, the resources that are present in the earth also should be well planned, and it should be conserved. What are the resources? Everything that we find, that we see with our eyes, on the mother earth is resource. From plants to animals to microorganisms to flora to fauna, okay, from two-legged animals to four-legged animals to birds, herbs, shrubs, plants, trees, everything, they all are resource. From fossil fuel to water to air, everything is a resource. We all are using that. Okay, we all are using that, but over exploitation is taking place. We are overusing it more than what is needed. Yes or no? For example, when you go to a restaurant, okay, you eat something, and then that also I told you, we throw foods. Yes or no? We left food. Okay, half-eaten foods are left on the plate, and where does it go? It goes in the dustbin. So what is that? That is not judicious use of resources. We are, exploiting the resource. So that is why resources should be conserved. And how should they be conserved? They should be conserved. Now, say suppose if we talk about plants, animals, okay, then ex situ conservation and in situ conservation and ex situ conservation is there. Now, what do we mean by in situ conservation? In situ conservation means conserving the organisms, especially plants and animals, in their own natural habitat, is known as in situ conservation. Okay, in situ means in its own natural habitat. Fine. For example, we have is various types of in situ conservations are there. Like we have is wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, biospheres. So in situ means in its own place. Okay. Now, wildlife sanctuary. The difference is, in a wildlife sanctuary, both plants and animals are there, but main focus is given to animals, fauna. In a national park, okay, now protection is given to flora and fauna, and even to historical places also. If suppose historical places, then that area becomes a national park. Okay, where the humans are not allowed, because it's a very sacred place, or in fact sacred from the government's point of view, historical point of view. Okay, and biosphere reserve means it is protection of plants, animals, and even for tribal development. So the people who live in that forest, who live near the forest, okay, who are dependent upon that forest, who look after the forest. Okay, fine. So that is called biosphere reserve. Fine. Now the in situ conservation is looked after by the government and even by private sectors also. Okay, the wildlife sanctuaries, okay, wildlife sanctuaries, in situ conservation, wildlife sanctuaries, they are governed by, actually all three are governed by governments, but wildlife sanctuary along with governments, even private sectors also can govern or can look after a wildlife sanctuary. Okay, boundaries here are not fixed. Sometimes they go beyond the boundary of a wildlife sanctuary also. Okay, they might enter a private land also, but here the boundaries are fixed on both the national parks and biosphere reserves. Okay, human intervention is not allowed here. Human interventions are not allowed in national parks and biosphere reserve, but in wildlife sanctuary human interventions are allowed. Okay, for cultivation, fine. And but that doesn't mean that one can go for a hunt, or can kill animals, or can poaching, not all that. Okay, that means humans are allowed for research, you can go for, okay, or they can go for grazing also to certain extent is allowed, unless it does not hamper the environment, the ambience of the wildlife sanctuary. When we talk about ex situ conservation, it is outside its natural habitat, whereby suppose why an animal or why or a plant or why an organism is preserved, in fact, or conserved out of its natural habitat. Then normally what happens is that an organism sometimes finds difficult to raise itself in its own natural habitat. There is a competition for food, shelter. It could be killed by other animals also, it could be killed by other plants also. Okay, so since there is a competition for itself to survive, so that is why that organism, either plant or an animal, is, okay, raised in some other places, which is known as, or conserved in other places away from its natural habitat. It is known as ex situ conservation. Example is botanical garden, where only plants of different types, either be aesthetic plants, okay, decorative plants, or medicinal plants, or plants with good seeds, commercial plants, all are found in botanical garden, only for meant for plants. Likewise, zoological parks are there, whereby a park which is specially meant for increasing the number of animals, especially where breeding is done. Likewise, here in Darjeeling we have is Padmaja Naidu Zoological Park is there, whereby snow leopards, okay, breeding of snow leopard is done there. Okay, red panda also is bred there. So that means, okay, that is animal breeding center, that is out of their natural habitat. And gene banks are there, where gene banks could be field genes also, field gene banks also, or a normal gene bank whereby seeds are kept. Okay, germ plasms are kept. Okay, fruits are kept, saplings are kept, okay, or tissues are kept, fine, or they can be stored in a very cold temperature also, or they could be planted, that is called field gene bank. They could be planted also, plants could also be planted, whereby through plantation also the germ plasm could be conserved. So that is known as ex situ conservation gene, okay, banks. Okay, it's a repository of seeds, germ plasm, okay, saplings, sperms, eggs also, etc. Now, last thing that we have here is harvesting wildlife to meet commercial needs. Now, this is a new thing. It's a different dimension, whereby we have to see this from a different point of view. Now, see, for example, rhinoceros are hunted. They are, killed. Okay, poaching is done. Why? For their, for their horn. Elephants are also, killed for their tusk. Other animals are also killed for their skin, for their hide, some for fur, some for meat, some for a game hunting. Okay, so now government thought, this way what happens is that if the wildlife is not taken into consideration, then their number could go on decreasing, because the hunters will keep on hunting them. So they started thinking about, how about if harvesting is done, rearing of the wildlife only is done, just like we rear domestic animals, or agriculture is reared, or honeybee, or apiculture, fishery is done, okay, pisciculture. So likewise, how about if we rear, yes or no? Okay, if we harvest, if we rear wildlife, that means how about these wild animals also, if could be reared just like domestic animals, okay, then the commercial need for meat, for fur, okay, for skin, for bones, for medicines, and for other aesthetic purposes could be could be fulfilled. Then what can also be controlled is poaching could be controlled. Yes or no? Okay, unauthorized killing could be controlled. Fine. And then so the need, sometimes it is done even like the sport hunting seasons are also determined by the government in certain countries also. Why? Because in the wildlife, certain organisms, certain animals number increases too much, so at that time also the harvest is done. That means the kill is done purposely, legally. So that is called harvesting of the wildlife. Like in Jammu and Kashmir, there is a special antelope that is known as chiru. Okay, now chiru, chiru, chiru. Chiru is a type of antelope, and it has a very beautiful fur. Okay, and that fur, is very nice. When the wool is taken out, okay, then the garments made from there. Okay, it's very high in quality, but it's found in wildlife. Okay, so the government was thinking about harvesting the chiru, okay, and so that it could produce more such fur, more such wool, okay, more such fiber, so that the commercially if it could be raised, yes or no, then it could be beneficial to both chiru also and to the government also and to the whole world. So this is known as commercial harvesting of the wildlife. Okay, so dear students, kindly go through it. In the next video we'll talk about another topic. So thank you very much.